All right, who we got? Todd? All right.
Like Todd Archer with ESPN, how can you practice in these conditions?
I don't know how we're going to do it. I'm ready to cancel now. You can't see the sun. I mean, what are we doing? So.
When you look at your running back situation behind Tony,
yeah.
What's the challenge? Do you want guys that are like Tony or guys that are different than Tony, what they do?
Well, I think, that really goes back to, the player acquisition focus. And to me, you want them to be dynamic with the ball in their hands. At the end of the day, I mean, I think when you get into these profiles of players, I think more of their physical skill is as important as also their play style and how they play. So one thing just in general, ball drills are important. Everybody knows how important the ball is and everything, but if a guy that needs to improve in the area of handling the football, catching the football, I don't care what position, even on defense, then that's a red flag for me. You got to be able to handle and take care of that football, and that has to be through your whole football team. And then, we obviously their running style, the ability to discipline the ball carriage, running naturally between the tackles, because guys you have to scheme for and play in certain schemes, obviously limit you. So, and I think if you look at these young backs, all four of them have very instinctive, run ability between the tackles. I've been impressed with Hunter. Just some of the one back we've used him in too. So I mean, he has natural instinct, in the A, B, and C gaps. Because at the end of the day, you got to run at people downhill. I mean, you're only going to get outside so many times. But this game, running the football and pass protection, it happens between the C gaps.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. Will Mozzie and Tyler go today? I know they were nicked up a couple of days ago.
Yes, I anticipate both those guys will go today.
Make it done enough for you to say
he's going to get a little more. He's going to get a little more today. So hopefully, and that's kind of why we wait, just through experience. I'll wait till tonight's staff meeting until we get all the practice in, because we still have competitive drills going on, and then we got an eye looking towards Jacksonville too, as far as some of the things that we're going to work. Particularly with our younger players. So, but yeah, once we get through practice today, we'll set that playtime report tonight.
John Michaud, The Athletic. What have you liked about your young tight end, John Stevens?
I tell you, he's done a lot of nice things. Obviously, he's a big target. I mean, that jumps out at you. Look, as far as first impressions going back to the spring. But he's doing a good job picking up the blocking and so forth. But he's just young. He's got a lot to learn. But very willing. So he's done a nice job.
Saad, The Athletic. When you do evaluate kind of where your entire defense is, and you have a lot of big names, but what about the guys that kind of, I guess are a little more underrated, and which guys fall under that category for you?
Well, I think clearly when you look at our defense, I mean, if you just look at the distribution of draft picks, the last 4 years, I mean, it speaks volumes to what we were, obviously focused on, but I think you're now seeing it come to light. I think the players and coaches have done a tremendous job through the offseason. I feel really good about our depth there is what I'm referring to. So, I mean, you look at the guys, as you say, the big name players, but our depth on defense to me looks like it's supposed to look. So I'm just real impressed with our young guys. Excited to see everybody play Saturday, but I think clearly our younger players on defense are further ahead than our offensive guys right now. So that's a real credit to just the commitment to draft and develop, and we got a lot of guys who can play over there.
Those guys, Jabril Cox, just what have you seen from him in his progression?
I think he's back. I think just like anything, when you go through that major joint injury, I mean, it takes time. I mean, you have to go through everything the first year or so. I mean, you could see him now. He's pulling the trigger, pretty much seamlessly now, where before, you're getting those spots, especially the special teams part of it too. So, but he's having a really good camp.
Hey, Mike, Patrick Walker, Dallas Cowboys.com. Two-part question. First, Ronald Jones, his status with the groin injury. Is he going to practice today? Does he have a chance for Saturday?
Yeah, I don't see Ronald going today. So if he doesn't go today, he won't go Saturday.
Okay, the second part of that, if Jones isn't on the field, you still have the great challenge of trying to figure out the splits for Malik, Rico, Deuce, and then you speak of Hunter. Speak a little bit about the challenge of getting enough reps for each of those players in this preseason so you can do an evaluation.
Patrick, I really don't think it's going to be a challenge at all, especially now that Rojo's not going to be going, Saturday. So unless, something changes, big time here in the next 24 to, 36 hours. So, but yeah, I think there'll be plenty for all those guys.
Michael Gelkin, Dallas Morning News. Obviously, the GPS data is more about managing exertion and getting a feel for what a guy's doing out there from a player's health and safety standpoint. But for players who are coming off injury, like Tony Pollard, can they also help with evaluation, determine, yeah, he's going at the level he was going pre-injury? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, it just they're still rated just like everybody else. I mean, there's guys that are in limited practice participation that still. I mean, it still flows on the GPS because you do want to see how they're working compared to the other guys. So, every period, every segment that they're working in is weighted. So, yeah, everything's looked at. So, but yeah, that's definitely a tool for bringing guys back.
Dave Loftenberg, Cowboys Radio. Mike, you've talked many times about play style and what you want to kind of look like offensively. How much of that is a byproduct of Cooper Rush playing last year, going 4-1? I don't want to say you limited the game plan, but he threw 16 passes against the Rams. One. How much looking back, you say we got to be a little more like that and play to our defense?
No, I mean, obviously that was a really good stretch for us, and I think the way we played was important, and Cooper did a fine job there. But play style has always been my focal point. I mean, every head coach team every team I've worked with as a head coach, I think it's important. Practice needs to look a certain way. Your team needs to function, a certain way, and we're all a little differently there. We all want the same thing, I'm sure, but play style and your pace of operation, mind speed, those are all important training focal points that we push the envelope on all the time because that's the only way you get it to Sundays. And so then we get to Sunday, obviously the ability to stay at that level is critical. So yeah, play style has always been a focal point for me, every team I've coached.
Anything else?
Christy Scales, Cowboys Radio. In regards to evaluating young guys and special teams, and then with the rule change this year on the kickoff with the fair catch and ball being spotted at 25, what do you think the approach will be in preseason in regards to kickoffs, especially when you want to see how guys can cover?
I mean, it's a great question because we all understand how the whole process of how it went down. I was just talking to Sean Smith about this yesterday, and the mechanics of it, we'll definitely work through. I think like a lot of things, no one sees a huge change. The fair catch, those components are there, but that's the beauty of the special teams. I think just like most head coaches that you go up against in the preseason, it's about lining your guys up and letting them play, and that'll definitely be our focus. In these preseason games, we're not going to be doing any of the deceptive type things, but it's something we're going to have to work through.
Do you foresee maybe with the play calling at times engineering opportunities for Brandon Aubrey to have more reps in field goal as part of his evaluation, or would that just be?
Why don't you just cut the chase? Say, hey, you're going to kick the damn ball this year, or what? I mean, yeah, we're going to kick it. We're going to kick it. We're going to kick it a lot. So, no, it's important to get him reps. I agree. Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.